Dr. Elizabeth Harrison stood in her executive office at Metropolitan General Hospital, reviewing hiring applications with the same rigid criteria that had built her reputation as the most efficient director in the city. At 37, she commanded respect through strict policies that prioritized what she called cultural alignment over diversity initiatives that complicated workplace dynamics. "Dr. Harrison, we have 15 candidates for the cardiac surgery position," announced her assistant Nancy, placing files on the mahogany desk that reflected Elizabeth's authority and control over hospital operations. Elizabeth scanned each resume, with practice discrimination, automatically filtering candidates based on unstated preferences that ensured her department maintained what she considered appropriate professional standards. "These three meet our requirements," Elizabeth said, selecting applications from candidates whose backgrounds aligned with her comfort zone while rejecting others for reasons she disguised as professional judgment. Her 8-year-old daughter Emma played quietly in the corner office, completing homework while waiting for their evening routine that never included discussions about diversity, inclusion, or the humanity of people different from their privileged circumstances. "Mommy, why don't we have any black doctors in your pictures?" Emma asked innocently, pointing to the wall of professional photographs that documented Elizabeth's career achievements and hospital leadership. "Emma, we hire the most qualified candidates regardless of background," Elizabeth replied automatically, using language that sounded progressive while concealing her systematic exclusion of professionals she deemed culturally inappropriate. The response satisfied Emma's curiosity while allowing Elizabeth to maintain her self-image as fair-minded administrator rather than acknowledging her discriminatory hiring practices that had created a predominantly white medical staff. "Hello, stop. Racism, family!" "It's so good to have you here today. Before we jump into the story, I want to know where you're watching from. Drop your country and state in the comments, and let's see how far our family stretches. Your comments mean so much to us, and honestly, they keep us going. If you like the video, leave a comment. Seriously, we need to hit at least 50 comments, and your thoughts will give us the energy to keep bringing you more stories. So come on, share your thoughts, give us a like, and let's keep spreading positivity and change together. Your support is everything, and we can't do this without you. Elizabeth's suburban home reflected her philosophy that success required maintaining boundaries between appropriate and inappropriate social connections, with decor that emphasized achievement while eliminating evidence of cultural diversity or challenging perspectives. Elizabeth, your hiring standards have maintained excellent department cohesion, observed her friend Margaret Collins during their weekly dinner. Avoiding diversity complications prevents workplace conflicts that undermine medical efficiency. Elizabeth felt validated by Margaret's approval of her selective approach to building teams based on shared backgrounds and compatible communication styles that eliminated what she viewed as cultural friction. "Margaret, I believe patient care requires staff coordination that comes from shared values and communication patterns. Diverse teams often struggle with efficiency and professional harmony." Exactly. Medical emergencies demand seamless teamwork rather than sensitivity training that distracts from life-saving procedures. The conversation reinforced Elizabeth's conviction that her hiring preferences represented sound medical judgment rather than discriminatory practices that excluded qualified professionals based on racial assumptions. Emma's bedroom contained only books and toys that reflected their white suburban experience, with no exposure to different cultures or perspectives that might challenge Elizabeth's narrow worldview about appropriate social connections. The house's family photographs showed only white relatives and friends from similar economic backgrounds, creating an environment that normalized racial isolation while presenting it as natural rather than deliberately maintained. Elizabeth's evening routine included reviewing medical journals and hospital reports rather than news or content that might expose her to different perspectives on healthcare, social justice, or workplace diversity. Her social circle consisted entirely of other medical professionals and suburban neighbors who shared her conservative views about appropriate professional relationships and cultural boundaries. The absence of diverse perspectives in Elizabeth's personal and professional life reinforced her assumptions about competence, culture, and appropriate workplace dynamics. Elizabeth's morning rounds at Metropolitan General demonstrated her tendency to interact differently with staff based on their race and position, showing warmth toward white colleagues while maintaining professional distance from employees of color. Dr. Peterson, excellent work on yesterday's cardiac procedure, Elizabeth said warmly to the white attending physician whose patient outcomes had been standard rather than exceptional. Her praise contrasted sharply with her interactions with Dr. Maria Rodriguez, the Latina resident whose innovative techniques had actually saved more lives, but received only perfunctory acknowledgement. Dr. Rodriguez, please ensure all paperwork is completed according to protocol, Elizabeth said curtly, focusing on administrative compliance rather than recognizing medical excellence. During staff meetings, Elizabeth's seating arrangements and conversation patterns revealed her unconscious bias toward white professionals, while marginalizing colleagues of color through subtle exclusion and limited eye contact. Team, our patient satisfaction scores reflect the importance of maintaining professional standards that align with community expectations, Elizabeth announced, using coded language that emphasized cultural comfort over medical competence. Her office interactions followed similar patterns, with longer conversations and more personal engagement, reserved for staff who shared her racial and cultural background. The hospital's nursing staff, which included many professionals of color, received Elizabeth's attention primarily during crisis situations, rather than routine recognition or career development discussions. Dr. Harrison, the new surgical candidate Dr. Marcus Williams is here for his interview, Nancy announced, referring to the application Elizabeth had rejected without serious consideration. Cancel the interview. We've filled the position with more suitable candidates, Elizabeth replied, maintaining her pattern of excluding qualified professionals based on unstated racial preferences. Emma waited in the reception area, observing her mother's professional interactions and unconsciously absorbing lessons about appropriate workplace dynamics and social hierarchies. Elizabeth's carefully controlled world shattered when Emma collapsed during a school field trip, requiring emergency heart surgery that only Dr. Marcus Williams, the black cardiovascular surgeon Elizabeth had refused to hire, possessed the specialized skills to perform successfully. Dr. Harrison, your daughter needs immediate cardiac intervention, announced Dr. Sarah Mitchell, the emergency physician whose grave expression conveyed the life-threatening nature of Emma's condition. Elizabeth felt panic overwhelming her professional composure as she realized her 8-year-old daughter's survival depended on medical expertise rather than her ability to control hospital hiring decisions and staff composition. Who's the best cardiac surgeon available? Elizabeth demanded, her maternal desperation overriding her usual concerns about appropriate professional relationships and cultural compatibility. Dr. Marcus Williams from Children's Hospital. He specializes in pediatric cardiac emergencies and has the highest success rate in the region. The name struck Elizabeth with recognition and shame as she remembered rejecting his application, despite his impressive qualifications and proven track record with complex surgical procedures. Is he available immediately? Can we arrange emergency consultation? Dr. Mitchell's expression showed slight surprise at Elizabeth's sudden willingness to work with a surgeon she had previously dismissed. He's already en route. Dr. Williams never refuses emergency cases involving children. Elizabeth watched through the operating room windows as Dr. Williams, wearing surgical scrubs that emphasized his professional competence rather than his race, prepared to save her daughter's life with skills she had deemed inappropriate for her hospital. His calm confidence and methodical preparation revealed the expertise Elizabeth had overlooked in favor of maintaining her comfort zone and cultural preferences. Dr. Harrison, Dr. Williams wants to brief you on the surgical procedure and risks, a nurse announced, forcing Elizabeth to interact directly with the man whose qualifications she had rejected based on racial bias. Elizabeth's conversation with Dr. Marcus Williams before Emma's surgery revealed his exceptional medical knowledge and genuine compassion that challenged every assumption she'd made about professional competence based on racial stereotypes. Dr. Harrison, Emma has a congenital heart defect that requires delicate repair, Dr. Williams explained with calm authority, his dark skin contrasting with his pristine white coat as he discussed complex surgical procedures. What are the risks? What's her prognosis? Elizabeth asked, her usual professional control replaced by maternal vulnerability. that made her grateful for any expertise that could save her daughter. The surgery has a 92% success rate when performed correctly. I've completed over 300 similar procedures with excellent outcomes. Dr. Williams's statistical confidence and detailed knowledge impressed Elizabeth despite her previous assumptions about his qualifications and professional capabilities. How long will the procedure take? Approximately 4 hours. I'll update you regularly throughout the surgery and explain each phase as we progress. His consideration for her emotional needs revealed compassion that Elizabeth had never expected from someone she'd categorized as inappropriate for her hospital's culture. Dr. Williams, I need to ask, why are you helping us when my hospital rejected your application? Because children's lives matter more than administrative politics. Professional disagreements shouldn't affect patient care. The response highlighted Dr. Williams's integrity and commitment to medical ethics that transcended personal slights or professional disappointments. I appreciate your willingness to put Emma's needs first. Dr. Harrison, that's what doctors do. We serve patients regardless of circumstances that might complicate our personal or professional relationships. Elizabeth felt ashamed of her hiring decisions, while simultaneously grateful for the expertise she had rejected, based on racial bias rather than medical qualifications. Is there anything else I should know about the procedure? Just that Emma will receive the best possible care, regardless of any previous interactions between our institutions. Dr. Marcus Williams's surgical performance during Emma's operation revealed his extraordinary medical skills and dedication to patient care that had nothing to do with his race and everything to do with his character and professional training. Scalpel, Dr. Williams requested quietly, his steady hands and focused concentration creating an atmosphere of calm confidence in the operating room where Emma's life hung in the balance. Elizabeth watched from the observation deck as Dr. Williams worked with precision that demonstrated years of specialized training and natural surgical talent that she had dismissed based on superficial judgments. Heart rate stabilizing, announced the surgical nurse, her voice reflecting the team's growing confidence in Dr. Williams's ability to complete the complex repair successfully. Excellent. Beginning the valve reconstruction now, Dr. Williams responded, his calm demeanor never wavering despite the delicate nature of the procedure. His surgical technique combined technical excellence with intuitive understanding of cardiac anatomy that resulted from both education and innate ability that transcended racial categories. Dr. Williams, the repair looks perfect, observed the attending anesthesiologist, whose professional admiration was evident despite their different racial backgrounds. Thank you. Emma's heart is responding beautifully to the intervention. She's going to have a normal, healthy life. Dr. Williams's genuine joy about Emma's successful outcome revealed his authentic care for patients that motivated his medical career rather than personal advancement or professional recognition. How soon before we know she's completely stable? Recovery will take several days, but the surgery addressed all structural problems. Emma should experience no limitations on her activities once healing is complete. Elizabeth realized that Dr. Williams' expertise had not only saved her daughter's life, but restored possibilities for Emma's future that would have been impossible without his intervention. Dr. Williams, I don't know how to thank you for what you've done for Emma. Seeing children return to normal, healthy lives is thanks enough. That's why I became a pediatric surgeon. How's this story hitting you so far? Tell us in the comments. If you're loving it, type 1, if not, type 0. We want to know what you think. Elizabeth's growing respect for Dr. Williams faced resistance from her professional circle, who questioned her sudden appreciation for someone they viewed as inappropriate for their hospital's culture and patient demographic. Elizabeth, I understand gratitude for Emma's successful surgery, but don't let emotional responses override professional judgment about appropriate staff composition, warned her colleague Dr. Robert Sterling during their department meeting. Robert, Dr. Williams saved my daughter's life using skills that none of our current staff possess. Perhaps our hiring criteria need examination. Elizabeth, one successful procedure doesn't justify compromising institutional culture that has served our patients and community effectively for decades. The conversation highlighted resistance within Elizabeth's professional network to acknowledging that their hiring practices might exclude qualified professionals based on racial assumptions rather than medical competence. Margaret Collins expressed similar concerns during their weekly dinner, focusing on potential complications of challenging, established workplace dynamics and cultural consistency. Elizabeth, your gratitude toward Dr. Williams is understandable, but don't let personal experience override practical considerations about team cohesion and patient comfort. Margaret, what if patient comfort is less important than patient outcomes? What if our emphasis on cultural fit has prevented us from hiring the best medical professionals? Just be careful not to let emotion compromise the professional standards that have built your reputation and hospital's success. Elizabeth's parents also questioned her evolving perspective during their monthly family dinner, focusing on potential social complications of challenging established patterns and preferences. Elizabeth, dear, we understand your appreciation for Emma's surgeon, but don't let gratitude create obligations that might complicate your professional relationships, cautioned her mother, Helen. Mom, maybe my professional relationships need complication if they're based on excluding qualified people for the wrong reasons. The pushback from family and colleagues forced Elizabeth to examine whether her changing attitudes represented personal growth or temporary emotional response to crisis. Elizabeth's decision to personally thank Dr. Williams evolved into honest conversation about her hiring practices and the unconscious bias that had shaped her approach to building medical teams and professional relationships. Dr. Williams, I wanted to speak with you privately about Emma's surgery and some realizations I've had about my administrative decisions, Elizabeth said as they met in the hospital cafeteria, away from colleagues and institutional pressures. How is Emma recovering? That's my primary concern, regardless of any institutional considerations. His immediate focus on her daughter's well-being impressed Elizabeth, while also highlighting the contrast between his patient-centered values and her administrative preoccupations. Emma is doing wonderfully thanks to your expertise, but I need to address something uncomfortable about my previous hiring decisions. Dr. Harrison, what's troubling you? I rejected your application to our hospital based on assumptions that had nothing to do with your qualifications or patient care abilities. I realize now that my decisions were influenced by racial bias disguised as cultural fit. Dr. Williams received her confession with understanding rather than anger, his expression showing appreciation for her honesty while maintaining professional dignity. I appreciate your acknowledgement, but what's important is how you'll handle similar decisions in the future. That's what I wanted to discuss. How do I change hiring practices and institutional culture that I've spent years developing based on the wrong criteria? Start by evaluating candidates based on medical competence, patient outcomes, and professional ethics, rather than cultural comfort or background assumptions. The guidance felt practical and achievable, while also challenging Elizabeth to examine every aspect of her administrative philosophy and decision-making process. Dr. Williams, would you consider joining our cardiac department if I offered you a position? That depends on whether you're offering because of my qualifications or because you feel guilty about previous decisions. Both, honestly, but mostly because Emma deserves to grow up in a world where the best doctors are hired, regardless of race. Elizabeth's decision to hire Dr. Williams and implement inclusive hiring practices created fierce opposition from her hospital board, who viewed her policy changes as unnecessary risk that could affect patient satisfaction and institutional reputation. Dr. Harrison, this sudden emphasis on diversity hiring represents departure from proven practices that have maintained our hospital's excellent reputation, warned board chairman Dr. Patricia Wong during an emergency meeting. Patricia, our current practices excluded the surgeon who saved my daughter's life. Maybe excellent reputation built on limited perspectives isn't actually excellence. But Elizabeth, what if diverse hiring affects team cohesion and patient comfort? What if our community prefers traditional staffing patterns? Elizabeth realized that defending Dr. Williams and inclusive practices meant challenging institutional racism that she had previously enforced and perpetuated throughout her administrative career. Our community deserves the best medical care available, regardless of doctors' racial backgrounds. Patient outcomes should matter more than patient comfort with staff diversity. The meeting concluded without board support for Elizabeth's hiring changes, forcing her to choose between maintaining her position by accommodating racist preferences or using her authority to implement ethical practices. Dr. Harrison, the board is concerned about your judgment following your daughter's medical crisis, warned Dr. Sterling during a private conversation. Don't let personal gratitude compromise professional objectivity. Maybe professional objectivity that excludes qualified doctors based on race wasn't objective at all. Maybe it was just systematic discrimination disguised as administrative policy. That evening, Elizabeth called Dr. Williams to offer him the cardiac surgery position, despite board opposition and potential consequences for her own career and institutional standing. Dr. Williams, I'm offering you the position of Chief of Cardiac Surgery at Metropolitan General, effective immediately. Dr. Harrison, are you prepared for the institutional resistance this decision will create? Change often generates significant organizational conflict. I'm prepared to lead change rather than just manage existing systems. Emma's life was saved by expertise I had rejected based on prejudice. Then I accept, with the understanding that we are both committed to building inclusive medical practices that serve all patients effectively. Elizabeth's partnership with Dr. Williams in transforming hospital culture required dismantling discriminatory practices while building inclusive environment that prioritized medical excellence over cultural comfort and racial preferences. Marcus, our surgical outcomes have improved significantly since implementing merit-based hiring, Elizabeth reported during their monthly review meeting, noting statistical evidence that diverse medical teams produced superior patient care. Elizabeth, inclusive practices attract the best professionals regardless of background, creating competitive advantage through talent rather than limitation through bias. Their collaboration had evolved beyond professional necessity into genuine friendship based on shared commitment to medical excellence and social justice within healthcare institutions. How do we address ongoing resistance from staff and board members who prefer traditional hiring patterns? We focus on patient outcomes and professional competence rather than defensive arguments about diversity. Results speak louder than rhetoric. Elizabeth's relationship with Marcus had also developed personal dimensions, as they discovered compatible values, interests, and approaches to parenting that created connection beyond their professional partnership. Marcus, Emma asks about you constantly. She wants to know when you're coming to dinner again. I'd love to spend more time with both of you outside the hospital. Emma is an amazing kid, and you're an impressive mother. Their evening conversations revealed shared experiences with single parenthood, professional challenges, and commitment to creating positive change through their institutional positions and personal choices. Elizabeth, what attracted you to hospital administration originally? Was changing healthcare systems always your goal? I wanted to create efficient operations, but I realize now that efficiency without equity isn't actually effective. What motivated you to specialize in pediatric surgery? I wanted to give children the healthy futures they deserve, regardless of their family's economic or social circumstances. Their mutual attraction had grown naturally from professional respect into personal affection based on compatible values and genuine emotional connection. Marcus, working with you has changed my perspective on leadership, medicine, and what constitutes meaningful success. Elizabeth, you've shown me that people can evolve beyond their initial assumptions when they're committed to growth and positive change. Elizabeth's presentation at the Regional Medical Conference required defending her inclusive hiring practices while demonstrating that diversity initiatives had strengthened rather than weakened Metropolitan General's patient care and institutional reputation. Colleagues, I want to share results from our hospital's transition to merit-based hiring that prioritizes medical competence over cultural preferences, Elizabeth announced to an audience of healthcare administrators who had questioned her policy changes. Our patient outcomes have improved 23%, while staff satisfaction has increased significantly through inclusive practices that attract top talent regardless of background. The statistical evidence impressed even skeptical administrators who had predicted that diversity hiring would compromise medical efficiency and patient satisfaction. Dr. Harrison, how did you address concerns about team cohesion and cultural consistency when implementing diverse hiring strategies? Asked Dr. Patricia Wong, her former board member who had opposed Marcus's appointment. We discovered that professional competence creates better team cohesion than cultural similarity, and that diverse perspectives improve problem-solving and patient care innovation. Elizabeth's presentation included testimonials from patients whose lives had been saved by diverse medical teams that brought broader expertise and cultural competence to complex cases. Our inclusive approach has attracted medical professionals who choose our hospitals specifically because we value excellence over exclusion. Marcus joined Elizabeth on stage, where their professional partnership attracted attention from healthcare leaders interested in replicating their successful integration of diversity and medical excellence. Dr. Williams, what advice would you give other institutions considering inclusive hiring practices? Focus on building teams that reflect the communities you serve and measure success through patient outcomes rather than comfort with staff composition. The positive reception validated Elizabeth's conviction that inclusive healthcare practices represented medical leadership rather than political correctness or administrative risk. After the presentation, Elizabeth and Marcus received inquiries from hospitals interested in implementing similar policies, confirming that their approach represented industry innovation rather than institutional experiment. How's this story hitting you so far? Tell us in the comments. If you're loving it, type 1. If not, type 0. We want to know what you think. 2 years after Emma's life-saving surgery, Elizabeth and Marcus celebrated their engagement at the hospital, where their professional partnership had evolved into personal love and shared commitment to inclusive healthcare and family building. Marcus, do you think Emma is ready for us to become a real family? Elizabeth asked, as they watched her daughter play with Marcus's son David in the hospital garden where they often spent lunch breaks together. I think Emma has been ready since the day I explained her heart surgery. She's been calling me Dad Marcus for months. Their wedding planning incorporated both families while emphasizing their shared commitment to creating inclusive environments in both professional and personal relationships. Elizabeth, what do you think our life will look like 5 years from now? I think we'll have built a hospital that serves as a model for inclusive healthcare while raising children who understand diversity as strength rather than challenge. Elizabeth reflected on her transformation from administrator who enforced discriminatory hiring practices to leader who actively promoted racial equity and medical excellence through inclusive policies. Marcus, working with you taught me that my previous hiring practices were limiting our hospital's potential while perpetuating healthcare inequities that hurt patients and communities. Elizabeth, you taught me that institutional leaders can evolve beyond their initial assumptions when they're genuinely committed to justice and positive change. Their hospital had become a regional model for inclusive healthcare, combining diverse medical teams with superior patient outcomes that demonstrated the connection between equity and excellence. Dr. Harrison Williams, thank you for creating opportunities for doctors like me, said Dr. Patricia Chen, a recent hire whose expertise in pediatric oncology had been overlooked by other institutions. Patricia, thank you for choosing to work with us. Our patients deserve access to the best medical professionals regardless of background. Their wedding took place in the hospital chapel, surrounded by colleagues, patients' families, and community members whose lives had been positively affected by their inclusive practices and personal example. As they exchanged vows, Elizabeth promised to continue challenging discriminatory systems while building institutions that served all people with dignity and excellent care. Marcus, you saved Emma's life and showed me that love and justice create stronger foundations than prejudice and exclusion. Elizabeth, you've shown me that transformation is possible when leaders choose growth over comfort and equity over tradition. Their reception celebrated not just personal love, but professional partnership that had created positive change for countless patients and medical professionals seeking inclusive healthcare environments.